Hi, my name is Rene Beekman. I'll tell first a little bit about my background and how I got to this. I started out as a video artist about 15 years ago using analog equipment. In those years made the transition to digital, to in the end After Effects. I did a lot of installation and tape-based stuff. The last tape I made was entirely After Effects, was in '98, and I spent about a month rendering 11 minutes of video. And that was sort of the point where I decided that that was the last time I would do anything like that. I could do whatever I wanted to do, but things had to be done differently. There had to be different options. I spent about a year looking around trying to find other ways of working with the media. I knew at the time about Max MSP. I didn't work with it. I very much liked the idea of MSP, but I wanted something like MSP for video, which was not available. It wasn't until end of '99 that NATO came out. Some of you might have heard of it. Olaf just used it for the patches. I started doing performances using NATO, later on using Jitter. But many of those performances were still, I noticed that my patches, but also the patches of other people that I saw, were still based on the paradigm of video editing, of having one or two players, having a video mixer, a couple of plugins, a couple of effects processing plugged in, and that was it. So I started to look around for other ways of doing that. I posted at some point a question on the live experimental video list and on the 55 list, which were the two main mailing lists for live video, asking what paradigms people used for their projects. I got a whopping 2 replies, both off list. One of them saying, "Good topic, great for bringing this up," but not much helpful info. In the end, I decided to just go back to the basics of video, to the early days of video, and that brought me to Dan Sandin and his early video synthesizer, which was one of the first. It's not the first, but it's one of the first video synthesizers, and it's one of the first that doesn't mess up the physicality of the signal. The first synthesizer was the Bicabin, which basically messed around with the magnetic fields in the monitor, rendering a signal that was unrecordable. And so what I did with, what I started setting out to do was make a software version of the image processing, the image processor, the Sandin image processor. This is a list of some of the different modules. A basic Sandin IP has about 24 modules. It's going to take quite some time before we have computers that will be able to do 24 modules, but in real time. Anyway, at the moment, I'm trying to build some of those in Max using Jitter. Because of the switch, I haven't had time to really set up. Let's see if the camera works. So there's different modules. There's simply a metro. There's an input module. Right now it's only a camera module. And then there are different processing modules. The function generator allows you to pick one of the this is the output module. And of course now it doesn't. Anyway, basically what happens is that the video signal is split into 3 black and white signals that can be independently routed through a number of separate modules. Right now there's a very limited set. There are a few more modules that are more or less ready. And in the end, the signals are combined again into a normal video signal. This allows a much more flexible way of processing video. When I have a few more modules ready, I do intend to put things online, put the source online and the patches online for people to download and mess around with and hopefully upload back again. But that will be in another couple of months. That's it for now. Are there any questions?
Do you find it strange?
Find what strange?
The software. I mean the motto of the festival.
No, it's. Sorry, I don't understand the question. What?
The motto of the festival, people doing strange things.
Yeah.
Means the software.
It's. Okay. Well, that depends on your definition, I guess.
Do you?
Of what strange is.
It's
It's as I said, what I've seen with performances, there are very few that deviate from the standard paradigm of video and the video mixer and the player, and I hope that will change. And this is an attempt to sort out one of the one option, one route. It might be a completely conventional route, might be a strange route. I don't know.
Why did you choose, this is also made in Max
Yeah.
MSP. Why did you choose for this specific program? Were there alternatives or better things? Did you look? Maybe you didn't even know.
No, this is fast prototyping, and I don't do C programming myself. I would have to first spend too much time learning C. And, so this is the quickest way to do this now.
In the audio world, there's a lot of interest in actually, looking at old analog circuits and emulating them and taking apart fuzz boxes and all of that.
Yeah.
I think in video it never quite developed this far. But are you interested in that at all? Really going back and looking at some of the old video synths.
Well, this is, yeah, it would be one of the things to develop with this. Actually, no, in October I'll be going to the Experimental Television Center in New York to get my hands on the real thing.
Right.
And I've been emailing with Aaron Miller, who's been working with Gary Hill, modeling some of the old processes in JIT. So that's one possible route that this can take. It would be an interesting route to see whether or not that would generate something new.
Yeah, it seems like for a lot of that stuff, just the data rate for audio has been, the computers have been fast enough for a while to simulate pretty complex circuits, but for video processing, it's hard enough just playing back a few movies. But
yeah, if you're doing this on right now it's running at 4 frames, and there's nothing on. It's too slow still. As I said, the basic sound in the original one was 24 modules. It's going to take quite some time.
How do you feel about a virtual interface as opposed to the very physical knobs of the IP?
Virtual interfacing in what
yeah,
sense?
like with that, when you pull a knob, it's much different than pulling down or up or
Yeah, you can the tactile interfaces. You can very quickly extend this to a tactile interface, to a more knob-based interface. I've done performances with both screens and tactile interfaces. Many knob boxes just make things more confusing because you're doing the same thing basically in two places. I try to avoid turning the knob type interfaces on the screen because that doesn't work with the mouse. Sliding works very quickly. But certainly the interface part, I'm deliberately avoiding the whole input part in this. There's only a camera module because that's a totally different subject, and I want to keep that as open as possible. So basically anything can be stuck in front of this. Any way of generating or interfacing with the world.
How did he use it originally? Can we look at the photograph of his interface?
The photograph of his interface was basically, that was his interface.
Is it passport?
It's a passport with knobs. It's a jungle.
I mean, it seems like that would be an important part of the experience. If the sort of the goal is to find out what it was like to...
Yeah. It's,
Is there sort of any intention to interface the sort of virtual maps-based modularisation of it into kind of more hardware-based old-school units? Because that'd be quite interesting if you could, use some of the old-school technique and somehow network it physically to your... Or are you just trying to create an entire simulation?
Right now I started out with just doing it in software.
Right.
Basically to just get the video engine running and running it as quickly as possible, which is still a long way to go. Again, the interface at the front end can be fairly easily changed. Yes?
Another interesting thing to note about Sandin's original interface was that he didn't label. There were no labels.
Mm-hmm.
To force people to become extremely familiar with the system. So,
Yeah.
You have to have this muscle memory of where things are going. So that when you're in live performance, you have to, switch very rapidly the cables and not be able to kind of make that association with text. So it's kind of a difference between,
Yeah, right now I have things labeled. Yeah, that's might be a way to might be empty lists or something like that. When you're trying to get things running, it's when you're still trying to get it to run. It's a bit handier to have it.
Well, some of the NATO standalone interfaces that I've seen have been unlabeled.
Yeah.
So it turns them into instruments essentially, like without frets or anything. But to do the development work without labels as well, that's
That would
like
be a
taking
bit-
it to a different level. Okay.
Thank you so much. We are doing